one of my subscribers suggested doing a tutorial showing how to color large areas with a marker. So here's how I would do that. So I thought I would demonstrate using an A6 area, which is definitely a big enough large area for me when I'm using markers. An A6 is like half A5. I'm doing this demonstration on bleed-proof marker paper, and I could use the really fine tip of the Promarker to do all this, but it would take ages. It's a large area, so it just makes sense to use the chisel nib. So I'm going to use the chisel nib to try and lay down a really even coat of just this one single color on the whole of this A6 piece of paper. So you can see me working down the edge there, doing some vertical kind of strokes, but most of my strokes are horizontal, going left to right, left to right, left to right, and I work all the way to the bottom on one side because I'm right-handed, and then I start working my way back up. And what I do when I'm trying to get an even field of color, even area of color, is I try to overlap my previous strokes with about half of the next stroke that I'm putting down. So here you'll see when I reach the bottom and I start working those strokes back up, I'm doing yet new stroke, I'm going into new white paper, but I'm also overlapping the previous strokes that I'd done with about half of the new stroke. And again, coming down here you can see, yes, I'm pushing out into the white paper, but I'm overlapping the previous strokes that I'd done at about the halfway stage. And I just keep doing that and doing that and doing that. And that, to me, lays down a nice even field of color where you're not going to have so many patches that look really light next to areas that are a bit darker. So everything's getting almost a double coat of marker color. So it looks pretty dark while it's still wet, but as it dries, it takes on its sort of natural color. And that's a pretty even layer of color. There's not too many areas there where you can see it's really dark, really light. I mean, I point out a couple here with just the tip of the Promarker, and I'm probably being a bit fussy. But that's not as difficult as perhaps trying to use 3 colors and to try to go from light to dark or dark to light. So I choose 3 reddish purple colors here, and I choose light, medium and dark. This is the lightest one you can see me putting on right now, and this is the same color as what I've used in the previous example. It's called Trick or Treat. So I'm laying this down and I'm doing mostly side to side horizontal strokes, left to right, moving down and then moving up and overlapping. Then I stop halfway through and I change to my medium color, which is called mulberry, which is a slightly darker, slightly more purple color, and immediately start overlapping with the Trick or Treat that I've already done and moving back up and down with the mulberry, so I'm getting the layered colors and hopefully not those sort of like light and dark areas. Then I change to my third one here, which is plum, and I do exactly the same thing. I go downwards, but moving from left to right, horizontal kind of strokes, back up, making sure it's overlapped along that edge so it's not going to be too light. And it's looking quite a big transition from light to dark there. So I go back in with the mulberry and I work just gently along the edge of where mulberry meets plum to try and blend those two together a little bit more so it's not such a sudden kind of color change. But it doesn't quite work. When it's dried, here you can see you've got drying lines all over the place. Between Trick or Treat and mulberry, there's quite a big drying line, and also there's a big drying line between mulberry and the plum there. So I need to have a second go at this and see if I can blend this a little bit more successfully than I did just there. You might have noticed I was a bit worried about how this was actually going to work and whether I could do this successfully, and that's why the A6 piece that I showed an example of in the first one, I've actually split into 2 even smaller pieces this time around, and trying to work the sort of large areas over a slightly smaller area. But anyway, here you can see me starting with the horizontal strokes of the Trick or Treat. Then I'm using the mulberry color and I'm going downwards, but also again horizontal streaks left to right, working my way back up to make sure that they're doubled up and I'm not going to get a light area next to a dark area. It's going to be fairly even. And then once I've done the mulberry ones, then I just sort of flick those edges. I'm hoping to get a slightly better blend this time. And then I pop straight in with the plum and I flick those strokes kind of back into the bit that I've just done with mulberry and then double up those strokes there as well towards the end to get a nice even layer of plum. But still, you can see those drying lines like crazy. So I go back in with the mulberry along the edge of where mulberry meets plum and I work it a little bit more than I did on the previous example. So I'm going up and down that line just gently, just hoping that those colors will blend. But I also go over to where Trick or Treat meets mulberry and I work that a little bit more as well. And you're probably thinking, well, yeah, okay, you're working these extra colors, you're working with mulberry now, but you're putting on extra marker all of the time, more and more marker, so surely that's going to have an effect. And you're absolutely right. When it's dried, The transitions are better. You've still got some drying lines there, but the transition between each of the three colors is a little bit smoother and a little bit better. But because I've had to put on all that extra marker, you can see when I put the two next to each other there, they are darker. That one on the right is a smoother transition, but the colors are all darker than they are on the first one. Now, it might be a big problem for you, it might not. So there you go, all three next to each other. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe. I think in conclusion, I really love the even field of one single color, but I've definitely got to work on my technique of how to do a large area and transition more than one color. And if you've seen a better example, then please leave a comment and a link below. And if you want to check out a little bit of blending on a smaller scale, then you might want to check out my previous Promarker, Flex Marker, Brush Marker video that you can find the link for below. Thanks for watching.